Hi there, I'm bunkered up again. Welcome to the Cult of Cinema. My name is Aaron. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, all that jazzy stuff. You want to join the Patreon? Do that down below. Today we're here to talk about Doctor Who, specifically the 60th anniversary in a way. See, as you guys know, I collect physical media. It's kind of my jam. It's what I do. What does that mean? Well, I'm not only will I be watching the stuff that's coming on TV, but I'll definitely be buying it. If you're just getting into Doctor Who with the David Tennant coming back and should have got what coming in, I know a lot of people are going to come in because he's a very popular actor. Both Tennant and Gatwa are kind of at the zenith right now when it comes to this type of stuff. But today I'm talking about the classic Doctor Who. See, there's these sets right here. I'm going to focus on this one today, and I'm going to tell you why, whether you're a new fan or an older fan, what a hidden treasure these sets can be. Join me. So Tom Baker is probably the best known of the classic doctors. For those that need to know who all the doctors are, we'll do that really quickly now before we start this video. It started off in the 1960s with William Hartnell, who had played a lot of like older characters than he actually was, and eventually played the oldest character that ever played in the hundreds of years old Doctor, uh, the titular Doctor from Doctor Who. After he decided to leave the series due to some health issues, the role had to be recast, and there was the option of picking something that looked like William Hartnell, or because it was a science fiction series, just doing something weird and different. What they decided to do was create something called a regeneration, which I don't think was even called back then. Basically, he would fall down, be hurt so badly that his body would have to change. What that would mean was that his face, everything, even his personality, would change. He would be the same person, would have all the memories of the Doctor before him, but he'd switch up. It made it an amazingly genius way to recast actors when they wanted to keep the role going. And at this point, they weren't sure how long the show was going to go, so they cast Patrick Troughton, who again was a very different look physically. He seemed to look younger. He had a very different like take on the role. Troughton was really popular, but at the end, they didn't know if the series was going to super last. The budget was lowered, and they brought in Jon Pertwee. Jon Pertwee would be the third Doctor, the first one being color. Patrick Troughton and William Hartnell weren't in color. No, there's a caveat to this. Please don't get confused, and please stay for the rest of the video. See, in the 60s, Amicus made two Doctor Who films for the theater. They're not at the time they weren't in canon. They were just films made specifically for theater. Nobody realized Doctor Who was going to last as long as it did. Uh, so Peter Cushing was cast as a doctor that had created the TARDIS, but he was human, and he fought the Daleks. It was the first time on a big screen you could see the Daleks and the Doctor, the movie Doctor, in color. The first time on television, Jon Pertwee. Well, what came with that? Bringing in color. The first episode, by the way, was shot on film, Spirit from Space, which is why you'll see it often on Blu-ray and maybe eventually on 4K. Maybe it is already on 4K. I'm not sure. Because it was shot on film, that means elements can be used to fix it. A lot of the stuff the original stuff that we saw was shot in a way that a lot of the negatives, the OCNs, are gone, which means they had to work around to find ways to keep the shows, and a lot of them were lost, which we'll get into in another video. So after Jon Pertwee, he became pretty popular. He did a very different take on it. It was very Avengers, Emma Peel, John Steed type of character when he did it. From there, it went to Tom Baker, the fourth Doctor, who played it for 7 seasons or 7 series. They actually, see, in Britain, a season of a show like in North America is called a series. Uh, Now, however, with Doctor Who, because there's old Doctor Who and new Doctor Who, because this went off the air after a while and came back on the air later, and they kept the show going. Didn't change, didn't reboot it. They just did a new show with a new Doctor, but they couldn't say, okay, this is season 20, this is series 27. So then it became series one. So all the old shows went to the North American seasoning. So they're called seasons. um, Now, this is season 6 of The Doctor, which we'll get into a little bit more. Um, then after him was Peter Davison, who'd just come off All Creatures Great and Small. After Peter Davison was Colin Baker, who had a good run on The Brothers. And we had Sylvester McCoy, who is probably, to this day, probably still the most underrated of the Doctors, because I think Colin Baker's really starting to get his roses now. Then came modern day Doctor Who, where Christopher Eccleston, yes, if you never watched Doctor Who, Christopher Eccleston was the Doctor. In between that, we got a TV movie with Paul McGann. Then Christopher Eccleston, David Tennant. Um, After that, after Tennant, we got Matt Smith. After Matt Smith, we got Peter Capaldi, Jodie Whittaker, David Tennant again, and Ncuti Gatwa. And there we go. That's the history that you need to know behind Doctor Who. But with that being said, that's just a little bit of fun aside. Let's get into why this set is so cool, so important. If you're a feature person, oh man, am I going to get you on this? Am I really going to get you on this? Season 6, or if you live in the UK, season 17. Because they just go number by the seasons. They don't like switch it up for each Doctor. It's less confusing in a way for them that way. Um, was a pretty decent season. Showrunner Graham Williams um, did some great stuff on this. And the first story, one of the first stories here, well, the second story actually, City of Death, is quirky and insane and a ton of fun. And oh, by the way, it's written by Douglas Adams. Yes, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Douglas Adams. He wrote for Doctor Who at the same time Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy was blowing up on BBC Radio. He would eventually have to leave because of it. And you can tell when he does a story. He does one called Shadow, which didn't get filmed. Season 17 was a bit of a troubled production. Season 17 happened during a writer's strike, so the last story wasn't completed. Now, with Doctor Who, this is different. See, with non-completed shows, a lot of times that's it, right? You get like part of the show, or sometimes you read an article about somewhere, and you're like, oh, I would like to have seen that. Doctor Who doesn't do that. See, Doctor Who in the original days, during the first couple Doctors, especially, what would happen is that they would take episodes that they'd filmed, and they would dub them over with other shows. No, it was before physical media. There was no VHS things where people were buying them on a regular basis. They had no idea that people were going to be like, oh, I'm going to want to watch this show in the future. One of the things that has helped, though, is that Doctor Who was such an inexpensive show to do that a lot of other countries, like Canada, Saudi Arabia, and Australia, would buy Doctor Who to show on their TV channels. Where I'm at, in Newfoundland, was shown on PBS, and so America showed it usually PBS Detroit, Michigan. If I lived in Ontario, then I would probably watch it on TVO, which is TV Ontario, and even my better half, who is from Morocco, would have seen it there on one of her channels. Because of that, and because not every tape got sent back the way that it was supposed to, thank God, some of the missing episodes have been found. The non-missing episodes, they've done something different. Is that they've either, one, decided to use telesnaps, which means that they've got literal like pictures of it, and they reconstruct it because everyone has at least had the audio saved. So, and then they take the audio and put the audio over these telesnap pictures. Or the other thing to do is the animated. And Shadow was one of the early animated ones. It was animated a couple times. I think was done with Richard E. Grant at one point with Flash. Remember Flash? So if you're in the if you're never long, you remember Flash, right? So the last serial of this one, because Doctor Who was done in serials, usually 4 to 6 parts, um, would be would have to be animated. There's actually 3 different versions of Shada on this one here. So the ones that are here are Destiny of the Daleks, City of Death. That's one I told you about. You trust me, I don't want to say that one. It's actually shot on site too. We got some nice shots there. Creature from the Pit, Nightmare of Eden, The Horns of Nimon, which is actually underrated, and Shada. Each of these have a bunch of special features. And if you're a special feature person, so I'm just going to put this right here just for a second. Not sure if it's going to show up. You can pause it if you want to, but we're going to go through every special feature, because here's the thing. Each of these usually had a DVD, at least a DVD release. And what you know what that meant? That meant that because they were so fan based, there were always archival like features put on there. Most of the archival features are on here as well, plus the new features. So let's go through exactly what's on each disc. So the first one is Destiny of the Daleks. It's a fun one. It's the first one with Layla Ward playing Romana. She's a crush of many boys, myself included. Um, it starts off with 2 audio commentaries, one from 2007 with Layla Ward and David Gooderson, who played Davros, and Ken Grieve. We get a second audio commentary from 2021, so when this set was being made, with Tom Baker on episodes 1 and 4, and for the longest time, Tom Baker would not come back. We get a 5.1 surround mix on here. Well, you can watch it with an immersive new sound mix or with the enhanced 5.1 mix. An additional music composed and realized for the 1963-64 serial The Daleks. There's a making of on here. Making ofs are usually pretty good and they vary in length. This one here runs around 44 minutes long. It's the making of that serial. Updated CGI effects. You want to watch it that way. If you're a Star Trek fan, you know what that means. Directing Who. There's an interview with the director, Ken Grieve. Behind the Sofa. So Behind the Sofa, my followers from the UK are going to know better than the people from the US, because in the UK they got something called Google Box, which is a show about people watching TV. I kid you not, and it's very popular. Now, Gogglebox, sorry, it's Google, it's Gogglebox. So what they do is you get people from Doctor Who, not always from that episode, and they watch it. We see them watch it. It's like a video commentary, and they give their reaction to the show. Behind Sofa, we got Colin Baker, who played the Sixth Doctor. Obviously, he's not in this one. Matthew Waterhouse, Katie Manning, Nicola Bryant. Be still my heart, man. She's so. Anyway, June Hudson, Graham Harper, and Matt Irvine. I watched the opening adventure. The Dalek Tapes, a history of the Daleks' on-screen appearances, is here as well. Terry Nation, a documentary examining Terry Nation. He's the guy that created the Daleks. The 1979 launch trailer, a 2021 Blu-ray trailer, which has David Gooderson returning as Davros. They do these like trailers that are like mini movies. Really, really cool. Really well done. You can check them out on YouTube, by the way. Nationwide was a feature on the Radiophonic Workshop. Blue Peter, a very popular kids program in the UK. They had a lot of stuff in Doctor Who, because obviously Doctor Who kids, crossed over. So a Vok robot mask from the Robots of Death is featured on Blue Peter. There's a Blue Peter like with the Daleks, talking about the upcoming season. They do things like the BBC trails and continuities with just basically like broadcast signals. They have like photo galleries, rare and unseen photos. Studio countdown clock, again, not too much for that. And a PDF archive, which usually includes things like, could be things like radio times stuff, like some of the rehearsal or camera scripts, plot synopsises, sales sheets, a whole bunch of stuff. That's disc 1 of 7. Not everything's going to be that intensive, but that definitely was, right? I told you, if you're a feature person, I got you right now, don't I? And City of Death, which is one of my all-time favorites. Look for John Cleese in it. I kid you not. Monty Python John Cleese is in this. And Julian Glover, who was in a very early season of Doctor Who. It returns to be a villain in this one. And if you are a fan of the show Space 1999, then season 2, standout Catherine Shield, she can change into different creatures, is in this as well. This is a great one. We have 3 audio commentaries. One done in 2005 with Julian Glover, Tom Chadbon, and Michael Hayes. Not that Michael Hayes, wrestling guys. Number 2 is with Tom Baker on parts 1 and 4. That's 2021. And audio commentary number 3 has Layla Ward and Catherine Shield, plays the Countess. So interesting there. 2 very sexy ladies. I say that right now. We get a making of documentary Paris in the Springtime. This was one of the few Doctor Who serials that was shot exactly where, not in a quarry, not in a soundstage, not in London, but actually really in Paris. And at the time, like Layla Ward and Tom Baker had kind of a romance going on, and you can see it in the show. They have a good chemistry. The Behind the Sofa happens again. We already know who was in that because I told you that'll be the same person, all of them. Hitchhiker's Guide to Douglas Adams, a 48-minute documentary on Douglas Adams and his work on Doctor Who and people talking about him. Directing Who, an interview with Michael Hayes. Designing Who, an interview with Richard McMahon Smith. Studio footage, just some low quality footage. And just so you know, I've gone to the Doctor Who fandom to verify so that I didn't miss out on any of the features, because I haven't gotten to see every single one of the episodes yet. I've seen them all, but I mean, like, rewatch them. HD model footage with added soundscape, prehistoric landscapes. Chicken Wrangler, just check that out. Douglas Adams interview. Tom Baker and John Cleese skit recorded for the BBC's internal Christmas tape. There's really interesting stuff like this on here. The Blue Peter with K9. BBC trails and continuities. Photo gallery, info text, and the PDF archives. Whew, lots of stuff, right? We get to The Creature from the Pit. We get an audio commentary on here with Layla Ward, Myra Francis, Matt Irvine, and Christopher Barry as a popular director as well. Extended episode for part 3. Here's the thing: a lot of the episodes had like things that were cut, but a lot of times it was kept. Like, so the extended episodes footage was kept. Behind the Sofa again, we get that. I'm making a featurette. This is a shorter one. Would have probably from 2021, and it runs just under 15 minutes long. Not everyone can stretch out to 45 minutes. Visual effects featurette runs around 50 minutes long. Animal Magic, Tom Baker appears in character during an episode of the BBC Wildlife Program. We get Layla Ward Remembers Season 17. It is a 55-minute extensive brand new interview with Layla Ward, who played Romana 2. So really interesting. It's going to be really interesting. BBC Choice Backstage. Haven't watched the Layla Ward one yet. David Brearley discussed his time as the voice of K9, trails and continuities, photo gallery, info text, PDF archives. There we go. Disc 4. Nightmare of Eden. We get an audio commentary from 2011 with Layla Ward, Peter Craze, Bob Baker, Colin Mapson, Joan Strebling. Making a featurette runs just under 40 minutes long. Behind the Sofa again. Those are always really fun. Those are some of my favorite things on here. Nationwide. Going Solo 2011 interview with Bob Baker. The Doctor Strangelove, Nightmare of Eden. The Trails Continuity, Photo Gallery, info text, and PDF. So there. That's not too bad, right? Let's get the Horns of Nimon. We got some stuff here, guys. We got some stuff. We get another audio commentary with Layla Ward, Jan Ellis, Graham Croden, and Anthony Reed. Behind the Sofa comes back again. It's fun on everyone. Anthony Reed interview, Reed the writer. These from the former script editors. Handed to his successor, Douglas Adams. Imagine that. Imagine you're Anthony Reed and you're handing over the script editing to Douglas Adams. Because the next season is Douglas Adams' season, by the way. Key to time. 6 minutes and 29 seconds. Graham Williams' era, goes through Graham Williams' entire era. It's a 60-minute documentary. I've seen this one before, and it's really, really good. The Doctor's Composer, Part 2, with Dudley Simpson on it. It's 18 months long. Music demos. So basically, Peter Howell's electronic demos prepared for incoming producer John Nathan Turner will be taking over as a proof of concept for the next season's incidental music. I love this type of stuff, by the way. I'm a geek. You guys know I'm an audio geek when it comes to this stuff. Swap Shop, Layla Ward's appearance on that show as well. Nationwide, Layla Ward and Canine. Ask Aspel featuring Layla Ward. BBC Trials of Continuity. Audio Archive. This is kind of neat. So a cut down version of Genesis Dialects, which is from a previous season actually. And the neat thing about it is Genesis Dialects is considered one of the greatest dialect stories of all time, if not the greatest dialect story. It stars Tom Baker, the late Elizabeth Sladen, sadly. Um, but it's a cut down version of it, released in 1979 on LP and cassette. Runs to 30 minutes and 35 seconds long. It's going to be really interesting because the Genesis of Dialects is a 6-part serial. And it's the introduction of Davros, if you know who Davros is. He created the dialects. We have Panopticon Archive. Tom Baker regales a convention crowd in 1997. 40 minutes long. That's going to be great. Tom Baker's such a great talker. Scottish Falsetto Sock Puppet Theater. Photo gallery, infotext, and PDF. So, damn guys, damn. Now we've reached Shada, the final one of the season or series. I still like to call it series, by the way. The 6-part animated version of Shada. It was presented in the form of 6 individual episodes for the first time. Watch with optional Tom Baker introduction from a 1992 VHS release. You can watch it in mono, which is original, or an optional 5.1 surround mix. There's a making of documentary on here. It doesn't say the length. And I haven't watched the shout-out discs yet, so I don't know. There's the band The Sofa, Strike, 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 talking about a documentary discussing the impacts of the industrial action on 1970s TV. Now and then, a visit to the original Cambridge locations. I love when they do location things. If you're a Jess Franco fan, you see them all the time with the Stephen Thrower. Tom Baker regales us with his views on life, the universe, and everything. That's gonna be good. What's on Wogan with K9? It was a series, and K9, and What's on Wogan with Layla Ward. Layla Ward's appearance on it. Clean opening and closing titles. 1979 HD photo gallery, infotext. A really big PDF written archive. Oh, but there's more. Shada was the one that had different versions. So we also get Shada the 1992 VHS version, presented with linking narration from Tom Baker. We get the 2017 animated version, this feature-length presentation from the 2017 DVD and Blu-ray release. Sound options are going to be 5.1 or optional for mono or stereo mixes. Audio commentary on the 2017 version with Christopher Neame, played Skagra, Daniel Hill, and animation artist Martin Garati. I probably mispronounced that, by the way. Anne-Marie Walsh. And get this, 1979 studio footage. A 148-minute package of behind-the-scenes footage from the 3-day session at Television Center. 1979 visual studio footage. 2017 dialogue sessions. 2017 deleted scenes. 2017 model filming. 2017 animation reference footage. Nationwide, Tom Baker's 1980 appearances announcing his departure, and a trailer for the coming soon season 18, which I do have. For those that have been collecting these sets or collected the DVD stuff previously, then here's what was initially on it on some of these that is no longer on there or have been moved over to something else. So this coming soon trailers for the Reign of Terror, Beneath the Surface box set, Chameleon Tales, and Ace Adventures box sets would of course be taken off because it would no longer be relevant. Those things have been long since already released. Destiny of the Dialects, Prime Computer adverts. Don't worry, you haven't lost it. It's just gone on to it fits better into season 18. So it's on the season 18 box set, which is out to buy as well. City of Death, the Ian Blatchford is gone. The Doctor Who annual 1980s is missing. Uh, Jaggeroth spaceship advertisement is gone, and Bad Wolf is gone. Creature from the Pit, there was a Christopher Barry director featurette. That's moved over to the season 8 box set. Again, all these are available. Doctor Who Partners in Time has moved over to season 26, which makes sense actually. Out of the Shadow stuff, the BBC Big Finish webcast isn't there. Neither is the infotext from the 1992 version, or Being a Girl. And in Shadow 2017 version, the raw title sequences and credit scans are gone, as is the 1992 VHS version in HD. The version on the set is only in standard definition, and a BBC Big Finish webcast. Big thanks to Doctor Who fandom for Wiki for being able to access all the information in one place and not have to be going through every disc writing everything down. See, and this is just one of the many, many seasons that are out there. The original classic series of Doctor Who ran 26 seasons. Like, let that sink in. It was a series that ran 26 seasons. And we're not talking like short seasons most of the time or stuff. We're talking a show that lasted and had enough of a fan base to come back years later. It ended in 1989. It came back in the 2000s. Like, aside from Star Trek, can you really think of a show that could do that and do it successfully? Back in the day, for me to pick up City of Death or Destiny to Daleks, it was a $20 to $25 on VHS. Eventually, they would go on DVD. The quality would be good, but it's about as best as it could be on DVD. And until these sets here, most of this stuff had never seen a Blu-ray release. A lot of the stuff, when you watch this on its Blu-ray edition, I'll be honest with you, you're going to be seeing this looking better than it did when I initially watched it on TV. That's pretty incredible when you think about it. It's pretty amazing. Now, this isn't the only version you can get. If you're in North America, this is what you get. It's a standard edition. There's no collector's editions. We don't even get a booklet. And in the UK, they do it with a limited edition, which comes with a big box set. It looks really nice and a huge booklet. It's very fancy looking. It's very nice. I've got a couple of them actually. Then the standard edition will come out, and it'll look like this, but it'll have a slipcover, and it'll usually have like a booklet, like a 12 or 16 page booklet included. In fact, they're a little bit lazy here. So when BBC America did the William Hartnell one, they actually even put on the back of it that there's a booklet, which there isn't. If you pick up the William Hartnell one, there's not a booklet. They just copied right directly off of the BBC edition that came out in the UK. They didn't even bother to take that out. Is this a good way to get it? Like, it is. If you're in North America, it's a wonderful way to watch the original series. The in-conversations that they have here, talking with like Bob Baker, is incredible. Every one of these discs has these sets has at least one, sometimes more, in conversations. A guy by the name of Matthew Sweet, who does really good interviews, but he doesn't like calling them. He calls them in conversations. And we'll have people like Layla Ward, Tom Baker, Colin Baker, Nicola Bryant, William Russell, so many, like Michael Grade even, different people on different sets, and it becomes a pretty thorough interview. I think the one with Sylvester McCoy, or was it Colin Baker? One of them. They've got so much other stuff to talk about that they don't even start talking about Doctor Who until like quite a ways into the interview. And you think that might be a negative, but it's not. It's actually quite the positive because we learn a lot of other stuff about their career and their life, and just it's the way he does it is utterly fascinating. So with that being said, it's the 60th anniversary. Right now, a lot of Amazons, unless you live in the UK for some odd reason, are maybe in the UK too for some of them, are putting some of these sets here on sale right now. I have two that I should be getting for Christmas. If I can afford it, I'm going to go for a third one. Then I'll be up to date. But there you go. Should you pick up the Doctor Who Classic collections? I really think they're fun to try. Try one at least. And we'll do a live video soon where we'll talk about it. And I'll help you decide which classic series you should get if you haven't got one. I'll see you soon. Thanks for watching, and as always, like, share, subscribe. Become a patron. Want to donate? You can donate. But above all, hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll be back here again in the Call to Cinema. Doctor Who? I love that show.